I'm here with Ronald Clancy, founder of AI TrackMate. Can you tell me about AI TrackMate and how it kind of came about?
Sure, of course. Yeah, AI TrackMate, I started at the beginning of 2025. Initially, I was interested in the environmental impact of AI and what the CO2 emissions were being generated from it. I was working in the EV transition space, and someone had said to me, every time you use ChatGPT, it's a bottle of water and it's this
Mm.
much carbon. And I thought that's interesting, but I need to go and explore it. So I did. I started exploring it. Um, I started looking at ways that I could help people to calculate their CO2 emissions from their AI usage. While doing that, I spent a lot of time speaking to people around AI adoption and what the challenges were that they faced. And the same things kept coming back. Normally, it was around security and compliance is one of the sort of key challenges. Um, my dad actually has a solicitor. My dad and brother have a solicitors and real estate business in Edinburgh, and speaking to them, for example, it's not something they've been adopting particularly fast, just because of concerns around their clients' information um, being leaked. So they've been pretty strict on it, and that was something that I heard quite a lot. So I really started thinking about the challenge in more depth and concerns around it. Obviously, large companies have the resources and assets to create project teams that will help them to adopt AI and dramatically increase their productivity, their efficiency, their
Mm.
effectiveness. But for smaller teams, for SMEs like my dad and brothers, and small mid markets, they don't necessarily have the time or the resources to be going into this sort of depth. So I wanted to try and build a solution that would help them to adopt AI in a secure, safe, compliant way. Um, and it just meant that they weren't being left behind some of the bigger companies. And one of the big concerns that I had around when exploring this was whether this AI revolution would create a bigger gap between the haves and the have-nots in companies. So that was really the sort of foundations for what got me going with AI Trackmate to begin with.
No, it's interesting because it's one of the challenges that smaller businesses have, and AI has this incredible benefit for smaller businesses in particular because it can automate it, it can make the problems that they have, they can fix the problems they have faster or find the solutions towards them. And when it comes to your company, AI Tracking, you look at these problems, is it mainly just the smaller businesses, or or have you kind of also kind of looked at the bigger corporations as well?
Yeah, so it's designed to help mid-market, corporate, and SME, less so on the enterprise level because they've, as I said, they've got some pretty significant resources and assets to do stuff themselves in-house. But if you're a mid-market law firm, for example, your day to day is focused on looking after your clients. It
Mm.
is on understanding their needs, their challenges, supporting them through those. They're not necessarily thinking, how do I adopt the newest AI technology?
Mm.
Uh, and there's very limited to education happening in this space. Then again, there's also a sort of lack of understanding what I see around some of the issues as well. So, a lot of people are unaware that if you're using some of these AI tools and you're on a free tool, and you put in personal information, financial information, you are likely to be breaching GDPR because you are the data controller. You are relinquishing control of that data to a third party, which is using it in its training models. So there's a definitely an education piece, and we're trying to help with that. We're trying to support with that. But also, what we've done is we've created a co-pilot that works for the users so that they get alerts whenever they might be about to leak private information, personal information, financial information,
Mhm.
contractual information. So they'll get an alert that it can also utilize a sanitization button that we have that will automatically resolve those issues. And really, it's about giving users the tools to be more confident when it comes to adopting AI to help guide them on safe and secure usage so they can obviously reap the benefits.
So when it comes to, let's say, when you're a smaller business and you're using your tool, how much time would it save them compared to doing it manually or using other AI tools, or they're trying to use it to obviously speed up the time? So How would they do it without, imagining, they had to remove the personal data, including that part?
Yeah, it's a pretty big question that it's sort of how long is a piece of string. It depends on their workflows, their processes, um, how effectively they are um, adopting the technology. But what we're doing as a business is giving businesses greater visibility over their usage, so they can
Mm.
see who's using what, how they're using it, how effectively they're using it, how securely and compliantly. So they get scores that will show that. Um, so really, it's helping them to have a bit more control around that adoption. And as I said, it also helps to reduce security and compliance um, mistakes. Um, in terms of sort of the time that's saved, that all comes down to your AI adoption and your workflows. There's so many numbers being banded around, but I think it's widely recognised that the productivity gains from AI are massive. So we're just trying to help facilitate that in a secure way.
And when it comes to like the data and the safety concerns, how are you ensuring that it keeps updated and it keeps the AI itself is actually following the processes, so it is doing what it says it is? Because that's one of the challenges, many companies have is AI because if you don't get the right prompts in, you don't have the right setup, it can do the wrong thing or misunderstand what you're doing. So how are you ensuring each time someone uses it, it's working?
Sure. So, as I touched on earlier, the co-pilot is really the main area that supports individual users or members of a business. Obviously, the leadership team will be interested in the dashboards and seeing things from a wider, broader, um, context. But for the individual user on a daily basis, what it does is it provides a sort of browser extension and a sort of floating widget or co-pilot is what I call it, and that will give them there and then when they're pasting in a prompt or they're typing in a prompt, it will give them an effectiveness score. So it'll tell them, right, this is 75% out of 100 effective. And normally the reason it's not 100 is because it might be lacking in context. It might have a poor structure. It might be a little bit confusing. So the way that it works is that we analyze that and we provide them feedback. So not only will it help them with that immediate prompt, but it'll help them to learn, how to create a better quality of prompt, and a better prompt will give them a better output. That's on the effectiveness side. On the security side, as soon as someone, for example, copies and pastes in an email from someone, which includes their name, financial information, they will receive an alert there in their browser, which will say to them, "Look, you have pasted or typed in what looks like sensitive data and sensitive information." And what it's doing is it's driving the user to resolve the issue. Or alternatively, there are buttons that are there that they can automatically sanitize the data. And what that will do is replace the names with person one, person two. It will replace the amounts of amount one, amount two, and it will clear up that data. So that so that anything sensitive is not being put into the AI models for their own training. And I think what a lot of people don't quite realize is that sort of human errors
Mm.
is the vast majority of compliance issues.
Yeah, no, it makes sort of sense. And when it's come around to creating your business, how much support have you had from, say, the Scottish government-backed accelerators or just the ecosystem itself? Has it been more privately kind of led, or has it been more public led in your support? Because it's kind of mixed depending on the entrepreneur, their
Yeah,
feelings.
yeah. So I've been lucky. This is my sort of second journey as a founder. I sort of put the last one on the back burner at the end of last year, but uh, I did get a lot of support for that first company and that first time being a founder through things like TechScaler, Barclays Eagle Labs. There's some great people, some great communities doing some great stuff in Edinburgh. Um, I returned back to Edinburgh a few years ago at that time when I was starting this business, and I decided randomly to go to an event. I think it was I can't remember which exactly, but I met Selby Carey, who I know you interviewed before, and the benefits I've got from being part of the network have been monumental. It's one of the best decisions I ever made was to get involved in it. I was a little bit apprehensive at first, but some of the connections that have been made from that have been amazing. I've made lots of friends, but it's just great to have that community and that support. So there's people doing lots of great things. I think parts of it are fragmented, and I think we can be doing more in Scotland because I think there is so much talent, there's so much capability in Scotland.
Hmm.
Um, there just needs to be almost a slightly more united, um, way of collaborating and communicating. Yeah, TechScaler, Barker's Evil Lab, shout out to Selby and all the great work he's been doing. I had support from Amy Kelly on the marketing side. She was wonderful. She was a great help. She came through Barclays Eagle Labs, I believe. Um, and yeah, more recently, I've just touched on the Antler cohort, the autumn cohort. So this is week 4. So I'm in London now doing that, which is obviously outside of the Scottish ecosystem. But if it wasn't for Selby, I probably wouldn't be here. So big shout out and thank you to him.
And when you're looking at you mentioned the fact it's kind of fragmented, and you look at, and for example, you look at the Antler program and the fragmentation in Scotland, as you mentioned, do you kind of go, if we had something like this, maybe we'd be able to help the talent that we have, or it's not really like that. It's just more of it's just a lack of cohesion. There's so much support. It's just now figuring a way to get it joined together. What is it do you feel as a founder?
I think people like Antler and some of the big global VCs are doing some really interesting stuff where they're really sort of um, being very strategic and sort of gelling people together um, and helping to provide resources and services around individuals who can then be a bit more creative. It's just uh, um, yeah, I think they're doing some interesting stuff. They're sort of adapting, building these sort of um, these very exciting incubators and accelerators. Obviously, Antler's not either of those things. It's a residency, is what they call it, and they make sure that you're aware of that. But what they do is they bring together about 100 people twice a year, and they put them through sort of 8 to 12 weeks intense residency where they give lots of support and guidance, but they're really just trying to get you guys all bouncing off each other and coming up with great ideas and then like sprinting really hard. It's really about creating velocity. And obviously for them, they're looking for moonshots. They're looking for massive ideas with massive revenue potential. The thing they keep saying here is is your idea, could it generate 100 million annual recurring revenue in 5 to 7 years, which very few can do. But they're trying to lead you to think big and make you believe that you can achieve that, which I think we could do with a bit more in Scotland. We could I've mentioned to people before, I think sometimes we're guilty of being a little bit pessimistic or not having quite enough belief in ourselves.
Felt that
We
one,
tend,
yeah.
yeah, we tend to just sort of get on with things, but we don't like to put our head above the parapet, and that's fine. But I think, if you want to achieve some of these massive things, it's why they tend to happen in America, is because they have incredible confidence and belief and energy. And yeah, I think in Scotland, if we could have a little more belief, have a little more support, and a little bit more cohesion, I think we could see tons more unicorns coming out of Scotland. I think we could go and replicate the likes of what Estonia has done.
It's interesting. Yeah, Estonia's got an incredible program.
Yeah,
It's EV. I think it's Estonia. It's the one the E visa, and that's the one that essentially is deemed as like the 11th unicorn because of it's generating billions, despite the fact it's only run by like 20 people.
great. I
That's
didn't
why
ever
I've
see
heard
one.
someone.
Yeah,
So
I know a good example for us, Carol and Deck. So a big shout to them. They do some great stuff. They've obviously made some massive connections in Estonia, and I feel like they're like doing the right thing and just like trying to learn from that and see how we can emulate it. And build bonds between the sort of smaller nations that are trying to punch above our weight. I think they're doing some cool stuff as well.
yeah, it's one of the things, like Estonia is. system, from my understanding, it's that their business, they're wanting them to look outward. It's not like you're looking in Scotland, it's looking outward. So where can you get your business to do? Not inside Scotland, but outside Scotland. Where's your market there? And that's my understanding. And that's kind of how they've kind of managed to generate these incredible companies and this program.
Yeah, totally. I think for startups these days in today's day and age, you need to be thinking global because you know your home market's all great and it's important to obviously demonstrate that you can get product market fit there, but yeah, you need to be thinking globally because the barriers they're quite small nowadays.
So when it comes to your company thinking globally, how does it work with the supply and regulations for mid markets? Is it, how is it going to work with your one? What's your vision?
So yeah, I've done some exploration in the US, and as far as I can see, they're very similar sorts of problems. There's different rules and regulations out there. Obviously, like California's got some well-known rights, data rights there, but yeah, there and there's also quite a few people in the space out there I've noticed as well who are maybe a little bit ahead of the game in like Palo Alto and stuff. We're taking a slightly different approach, but I think what's clear is that AI adoption is still at its very early stages,
Mm.
and regulation is struggling to keep up with it massively. And I even think people are struggling to keep up with the rate of the technological change, and that's why there's still some adoption challenges, and I think they need some help, and that's something that we're very focused on. And it's a universal problem. It's very early stages in this market, which is what really excites me about it. But yeah, what the big thing that really drives me is I want to make sure that there's an equal opportunity in the AI revolution, and that doesn't matter how big you are. It's that everyone benefits from it equally, and that opportunity is there for everyone equally.
Well, that makes perfect sense. It's an incredible opportunity for companies, and I think one of the problems you touched on is that AI is developing so fast that it's not really the question of a bubble or not. It's more the question of is there the infrastructure to support it, and that could potentially create this bubble or wherever discussions around bubbles are because of this idea that there's so much investment going in it. It seems like it's just money. It's billions of pounds going to what could be another dot-com bubble.
Yeah, I think I can understand why people are sort of comparing it to the dot-com bubble, and there probably are some comparables, but from my perspective, looking at the space, there's just a little bit of correction needs to be done. There's been people have been sort of pigging out on cheap AI without actually the real costs flowing through to the user and the consumer, and that's quite normal. But now there's so much demand for energy and for data centers that you know I think some of the major players will have a sort of will need to rapidly increase their supply, and that's going to be a challenge for them. And I think because of that challenge, there's going to be an increase in cost, so there will have to be an increase in cost, which means that if you are providing video generation AI tool and you're giving out free versions of it to help adopt things at the moment, the costs are going to start mounting up on your side from the key providers, and you won't be able to offer it so cheaply. So I think the margins will get squeezed, and some companies will struggle with that. Um, but AI is here to stay, and we'll just see more deliberate AI usage rather than some of the sort of crazy stuff we see coming out of Sora.
Yeah. Thank you for taking time to talk to me. It was really good talking to you.
Perfect. Thanks very much, John. All the best.